Hey there. Welcome to welcome to episode 184 of Mike's Collection. I'm Mike, and this is my buddy Chad.
Hey.
And so the part of our collection that we're going to be talking about today, nothing really in particular. We haven't decided what we're going to talk about, but I think we're going to talk about probably McFarlane DC stuff, since that's your primary collection, I think. All right. So yeah, this might be a little disjointed. This is the first time we've done this, and we haven't really planned what we're going to talk about. But so yeah, DC, what do you collect? Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? What do you collect? What are you into?
So yeah, I kind of started collecting early 90s with mostly TMNT stuff, and earlier 80s it was like the G.I. Joes and the G1 Transformers. I was born in 82, so I was kind of a little late to the show with that. But recently I've been collecting the DC Multiverse line by McFarlane. I'm a huge DC fan, especially Batman. Batman's my thing. So I've been switching up and just collecting more stuff from when I was younger now. I connected with Mike. I actually met Mike about 20 plus years ago.
But I don't really remember that.
Through a mutual friend. And then said mutual friend connected us on Instagram and let me know that Mike was a toy collector. And we just kind of hit it off from there, chatted off Instagram and then Facebook just about our collections. I also collect comic books. So through Mike, I've kind of watched his videos and started getting an interest back in TMNT lines. I did start with a few G.I. Joes, kind of branched off into the Black Series for Star Wars and Marvel Legends now. So
you're buying it all.
Yeah, I'm buying it all, and now I'm kind of thinking about going back to Transformers. I did sell all my collection probably about 12 years ago now for a couple thousand, and wish I didn't do that.
Yeah, it's getting to the point now where I just kind of wish some of my collections would end, because I collect, I don't collect a ton of things, but like the 6 or 7 brands that I collect are just relentless. So like Marvel Legends, Star Wars Black Series, G.I. Joe kind of went away for a little while, but now the Classified series is amped right back up again. And I always kind of thought some of these lines would stop, but they just never stop. So I'm sorry that I dragged you into this.
That's okay.
A little bit.
It's a habit. It's an addiction. So I don't think it'll ever go away.
Hey, so is your mom going to watch this?
I'll probably forward her the link just so she can see what this is about.
She's probably going to tune out pretty early on, so we should say hi to Chad's mom before.
Hi, Shirley. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Shirley. Because she'll probably tap out.
Yeah.
My mom asks me about this sometimes, but I don't think she's ever watched a video. She used to read my toy blog, which is nice. But all right. So McFarlane's DC. So that's your biggest thing right now, anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't have hardly any of them, actually. Like there's my DC collection is just over here. Mm-hmm. I've never been a big DC collector because I was always much more of a Marvel guy. So my Marvel Legends collection, which you guys probably can't see behind us here, but I think you can just sort of see the start of it over here. But yeah, it's pretty deep. I've got probably 500 or so Marvel Legends figures. You can wheel back in the shot. But yeah, with my DC, like, how many would you say that? Like, I probably have less than 100 DC figures. I try and stick with kind of like just one good version of each character. I really don't want multiple Batman. It's happened. I probably have about 5 different Batmans over there. But I was one of those people that when McFarlane got the license, I know he's got some critics, and I was kind of like, enough with the Batmans. You say Batman's your main guy, so what did you feel about him like putting up Batman's concept?
It's stressful because I'm such a Batman fan. You can only do Batman so many ways, and
you'd think
it's getting to the point now where they are releasing different versions. So, for example, one of my pet peeves is McFarlane doesn't release figures with multiple heads.
Yes.
So, For example, the latest, the Batman movie. He had 3 different versions of Batman. So he had Batman in his complete suit. Then he had a Batman with just Robert Pattinson's face.
Yeah.
Same sculpt and everything. And then he had Pattinson as kind of in his little street gear with the helmet. And then he also had like the eyes with the black makeup around them.
Yeah. When
he was out of costume. They did the same thing with the Catwoman. So the Catwoman, I actually brought...
Yes, I did. You should send me if I don't have those pictures that you sent me of your collection. I think I have them on our Instagram chat.
Yeah.
But I'll plug them in here. I asked Chad like, "How's your DC collecting going?" He sends me these pictures, and he's got them stacked floor to ceiling.
There's probably well over 100 or so McFarlane figures.
Just all boxed up.
Boxed up. I have no room for them. So.
But I did ask him to bring a couple of them to talk about. So what'd you get?
So the first one, I was just talking about the Catwoman.
Yeah.
So this is actually not movie
accurate.
Accurate.
I know. I saw this because I actually really liked her as Catwoman.
You'll notice her mask is covering her bottom face and then the top part of her head. So she's got like this little ninja mask thing going on. In the movie, there was a mouth cutout, and they released this one, and then they released another version with her mask up on her forehead so you could see her whole face.
Yeah.
So they're kind of putting out, multiple versions of the same figure. It was the same sculpt, came with the same stuff, and it's just to make money. Yeah, because they know people like me will buy them, and it gets expensive, so you kind of have to start weeding out what you're going to buy and being more selective. So that's what I've been doing over the last couple of months, just kind of limiting myself to specific Batman figures. So they put out almost 50 different versions of Batman. There's like a hazmat suit Batman, there's Batman, and then they release like specific Todd McFarlane sculpts that he makes, which look almost identical to the other ones that are designed by his staff.
I was at GameStop today, our local one, and they have the $5 Fridays.
Yep.
So in their $5 bin today, they had Wonder Woman from McFarlane, and it was the McFarlane designed Wonder Woman. And I like McFarlane's figures. I like Wonder Woman. I looked at her. She's $5. And I'm like, even for $5, I don't want this, because I want to keep my DC collection kind of limited to what I feel are like the best versions of these characters, and I just don't really care for his take on Wonder Woman. So, even for $5, I left it behind.
And that was my problem with starting to collect the Multiverse line is I'm so attached to Batman, but then they're putting out other figures, and like they do with Marvel Legends and mostly all kind of big series titles now, is they'll release these Build-A-Figures. So they started putting out different characters, like Wonder Woman. I don't really have an attachment to her, but she was in a line where you could build a Batmobile, and then there was like Aquaman. So I'm not really a fan of some of the DC mainstream ones, but it kind of made me broaden my collection, because now I have like these random figures in my Bat family, and I have to keep going with it. So they put out this Catwoman. Wasn't really a fan of it, but again, I'm a completionist.
So is it that you just don't like that she's not film accurate? Like, it looks like a decent figure otherwise.
I don't like that it's not film accurate, and
that's a big
there were some reviews on the character that she's kind of flimsy, sort of top heavy compared to the bottom part, so she doesn't fit on the stand properly. Like, she'll kind of fall over.
I will say the stand, because all of his figures,
they come with the same stand.
Spawn as well. They come with a little black circular stand with one peg on it, and it doesn't allow for very dynamic. If you want to spread their legs out so they have a wider stance, less chance of falling over, you can't, because then it's uneven. It should at least be 2 pegs on there.
Give us an extra peg, Todd. Come on.
Yeah. But yeah, that unmasked head stuff is garbage. Like, I can understand a little bit, like, for one, they should just give her an unmasked head and a masked head in it. But, like, if you're going to do Batman with a mask, and then you're going to say, you know what, at San Diego Comic-Con, we're going to have an unmasked one. That'll be special for the hardcore collectors. But, like, when I go into my local Walmart, I see pegs full of Batman with no mask on.
Yeah.
Like, if I was a kid and I wanted Batman, I'd be like, why do these not have masks? It's stupid. Like, who's buying those? Like...
And then they have, like, different versions of Batman. So they have, like, older Batman unmasked, and then they have, like, modern Batman unmasked. They'll have Batman with, like, the new 52 variant where he's got the yellow in the chest symbol. They'll do, like, an Action Comics Batman. They'll do a Detective Comics Batman in, like, the action where he was in a couple Superman arcs.
What's your favorite Batman look? Like, from a comic book, a particular artist, particular movie, particular, like...
That's a hard question. I think recently it's been Tony S. Daniel. I loved his artwork in the Scott Snyder run. Yeah. He's done some work with Scott Snyder. He's done some work with Greg Capullo. And...
yeah, I like his stuff.
I like his stuff because he did work on Spawn for quite a few years.
Yep.
So his Batman sort of had, like, the darker theme to it. It's probably Tony S. Daniel with Capullo in a close second.
See, and that's... I could forgive Todd pumping out all these Batmans if he went the route of, like, DC Direct. The only reason I do have multiple versions of some characters over in my little DC collection is because DC Direct does that, like, artist specific, and they do a really good job of capturing the artist. So, like, my Superman over there, I have Ed McGuinness. I love Ed McGuinness's big, cartoony, goofy style, and it really captures his artwork. But then they put out a Jim Lee Superman, and I'm like, who doesn't like Jim Lee? So I'm like, I bought a Jim Lee. And then they put out a Jay Lee Superman, and I'm like, I really like Jay Lee's art. It's very unique. And then, who else have I got there? I've got the Frank Miller one from... yeah. And so it's like, I look at each one of these Supermans, and it doesn't just seem like, you know, a weird new take on Superman. It's like, I see that artist's work on there, and I really like that. So as my Batmans, I've got the Ed McGuinness Batman, and then the next one I see up front there, that's the one from the White Knight. What's that guy's name?
Oh, dear.
Is it Scott? Anyway. He writes and draws the...
Scott Snyder?
It's not Scott Snyder. No. But anyway, whatever. I'll put the text in there. But he writes and draws White Knight, and he's got a very cool take on Batman as well. So that's one of the McFarlane figures that I bought. I'm like, okay, well, this is a cool Batman that I don't have before. He's got these, like, boots, like super high boots, and the bat symbol's very unique on him. And I guess we'll have to figure out... I'm going to shoot some probably after you leave, and I'm editing this. I'll shoot some close-ups and side-to-sides, and I'm going to have to choose. Am I going to cut you out while I talk about it, or am I going
to... cut me out.
Actually, you know what's going to be kind of odd? Usually when I do, like, when I shoot video and do a split screen, it works out because I'm in the middle, and so it splits it. If I do a split screen with this, people are probably just going to get to see the middle chunk between us.
Right.
Here, they'll be staring at nothing. But anyway, I'll figure it. I'll find a way around.
I ruin everything. Darwin Cook was probably my favorite DC Direct Batman.
I've got him in there too.
Yeah, he's probably one of my favorites. Late artists. Also, going back, if I was to consider, like, older Batman art style, it's Frank Miller. Frank Miller wins hands down every time.
Yeah, I
like his just, like, gritty, kind of bulky Batman. His artwork is fantastic.
It's like I don't know what I would say is my favorite Batman. It's definitely not one of the movie Batmans, even though I loved, you know, Tim Burton's first take on him with the all black. That was kind of cool. It made him feel dark, but I grew up on, like, Super Friends kind of Batman or Superpower, you know, with the gray, the blue, the yellow symbol. Like, that's kind of... So I think, like, would it be, like, maybe Neil Adams that drew, like, a really good version of that, the blue and the gray Batman and stuff. But, yeah, I'd have a hard time naming my favorite Batman artist. All those guys I mentioned before, like Ed McGuinness. I like all those guys, Darwin Cook. Yeah. Anyway, so I wish McFarlane did that more.
Yeah, he's got, I don't know, well, like, when COVID hit and DC kind of separated from Diamond Comics, they stopped producing the DC Direct figures, and Todd McFarlane bought the rights to DC Direct sometime last year, so they started making the DC Direct figures again, because at the time I was collecting this sort of, like, rooftop statue diorama. It had Mr. Freeze, it had Bloodsport. It had...
Let me ask you, have you bought any of those? Because I think these are great. I think it was DC Direct or DC Collectibles, whatever they were calling themselves at the time, but they make those black and white statues of Batman, all based on the different artist artwork. Do you have those?
Yeah, I have a couple of them. I have a couple DC heroines there too. Poison Ivy, Harley, Catwoman.
I thought about buying the mini, because that's the thing, they're about $100 a pop, I think, for the statues. And I'm not a statue guy. But, like, for example, Mike Mignola hasn't drawn a ton of Batman.
Right.
And I don't think they're ever going to make an action figure of Mike Mignola, the guy who created Hellboy, his Batman. But they made a statue, and it looks just like Mignola's art, and I'm like, I want that. But if I start that, $100 pop. But then they released the little mini packs where you get, like, you get, like, 7 of the little mini statues for, like, $70, so $10 a statue. And I was very close to buying them. I had, like, the 2 sets in my hand, but then I was like, what am I going to do with these small little things? They don't really fit in my collection anywhere, and they probably just got lost in the shuffle. But I love the look of them.
Yeah, they're nice. I kind of collected statues for a bit, but they get very pricey, like Mike said. Most of the ones I have in my collection are probably $120, $130 plus. So the bang for your buck isn't really there because they're not posable. I find you're basically paying for the weight. That's it.
I've got one. Like, well, if I got that Kraken the other a couple weeks ago, but I didn't consider that a statue because it's vinyl. It doesn't move, which is frustrating. But the only statue in my collection is that Psycho Man bust.
Oh yeah,
it's a weird character to just have. That's my only statue in my whole collection, but he's kind of a weird Jack Kirby era character. I like him, and I got him cheap.
But. And it's Jack Kirby.
Yeah. All right. Who else you bring?
So, one of my favorite Batman kind of stories over the last couple of years has been the Three Jokers.
Which I haven't read yet. So
I won't say anything. So Jason Fabok was the artist on that, and I brought the Three Jokers.
Now, the reason why I haven't read it yet is because when it comes to DC, I pretty much buy all my DC stuff in trade paperback format. Marvel, I collect a lot more monthly stuff. And this thing, I don't think they put it in the trade paperback yet. Maybe the hardcover?
No, it was released as a trade paperback. So
is it oversized? Those black label ones are sometimes too big, and I don't like that.
They are black label. It is a little oversized, I think. I have 2 versions. So when I buy kind of exclusives or sort of up-and-coming things, I'll buy them in a set of 2, so that way I can get the variant cover and I can bag and board one right away and then just read the other one, and when I'm done with it, sell it. So the first one we have the Joker, the Criminal. So if you don't know anything about the Three Jokers, basically the storyline, spoiler free, is that Batman finds out there's 3 Jokers.
Was this Jeff Johns? Did he write it?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so.
And there's 3 Jokers, and he enlists the help of Batgirl and the Red Hood, and they're trying to figure out which one is the real Joker. Okay. So this one is the Criminal.
He looks cool. See him?
So he's kind of got that classic sort of Joker look that everyone...
He's kind of got a real worldness to him.
It reminds me a lot of the Arkham Jokers.
Okay.
The next one is the Clown. So in the series, that was probably my favorite Joker.
Yep, that's a very classic Joker.
That's classic Joker.
As well.
Kind of reminds me of the Cesar Romero sort of look, just the hairstyle.
Yeah.
Kind of all out there.
He's got the little Joker fish, it looks like, up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the final one, which was sort of a nod to The Killing Joke.
Yeah, what do they call him?
The comedian.
Okay.
So he's sort of got the camera there. He's got his little cane.
Yeah, that's very much a Killing Joke. Joker.
Yeah. So that was my favorite look, but the Clown was my favorite.
Without spoiling the climax, in the 3 Jokers, is there like 1 real Joker and 2 imposters?
Yes.
Okay.
So I can't say much without spoiling it, but essentially they're trying to figure out which Joker is the real one that's causing all the chaos in Gotham City.
Okay.
And at the end of it, Batman he had the right intuition all along.
Okay.
So.
And you know what's weird? I have thousands of action figures. I've got, like I said, probably close to 100 DC figures. I don't think I have a single... Actually, it's not, I was going to say I don't have a single Joker in my entire collection. But I just realized I do have one. I have a Hot Toys 12-inch doll of the Heath Ledger.
Nice.
Which I just kind of lucked into. I don't like... If you're aware of Hot Toys, these are the 12-inch, really high-end. I have about 4 or 5 of them in my collection, and they usually cost about 200, 250, 300. Some of the Iron Men are like $800. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how... Like, I think they've done a few Heath Ledger Jokers now, like one in the nurse's outfit and whatever. But, like, before I even knew what Hot Toys were, like, this is going way back in the early days, I went into our Strange Adventures, our local comic shop where I buy a lot of my stuff. And he does this thing where I think he orders from Diamond Distributors where they say, you know, we'll give you a really good deal on a banged up box or something. Yes. And it's like a miscellaneous box. And so I walked into the store to get my comic books when he was like unpacking it. And I was like, oh, what do you got there? And he's like, oh, I'm just opening this miscellaneous box of dinged up stuff and everything. And he pulled out this Joker and I looked at it, I was like, this is cool. And he's like, yeah, he's like $50. And I said, okay, sold. And like the figures and I think even the box is in good shape. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with it. And yet it was only years later when I realized like, oh, Hot Toys are these like, if he had put this out at retail, it would have been like $200 toy, and I don't even know what it goes for now on the secondary market. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I know it's a very beloved version of the character, and so yeah, killer deal on that. But yeah, that is the only Joker I have. Maybe I should buy one of these 3. Although I don't know if I could pick.
It's hard, and again, getting back to McFarlane's line, like most of the stuff is identical. There's just very few subtle differences. So the sculpts are reused. All 3 of these have the same sculpts.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, not quite.
Torso.
Well, like this guy's got an open jacket. He's got a closed jacket. Yeah, those are different enough. I wouldn't necessarily call those the same. And he's got a jacket on. Yeah, they're all different. What are you talking about?
I'm just sick of the similarities.
Now, I don't think any of these guys are guilty of it, but another controversy, so besides him overdoing it on Batman, is he paints everybody looking to the side, I guess.
Side eye.
And I think in interviews I've heard him say, well, like, he thinks it's weird when all the characters are just staring forward because it makes them seem creepy. So I disagree with that, but, like, what do you think?
Side eye is a real thing. It drives me crazy. And some of them, since they're hand-painted, the eyes aren't always to the side. So when I'm in store buying one of them, I'll look over a couple of them and try to find one that sort of has a straight-on look. I prefer a straight-on look instead of, like, what are you looking at out of the side of your eye?
Yeah.
He's also notorious for scaling. And scaling drives me crazy with this line.
Before we get into scale, just, if you watched my last video, I had to redo it because I was going and about half hour in it. My tablet crapped out on me.
Yes.
So now I have a fear. Usually I try and do these things all in one take, but I'm thinking, like, maybe I'm going to cut and save what we have just so we don't lose this.
Sure.
And we'll come right back to where we were. One sec.
So with scale, he's putting out... The majority of these figures are 6-inch. There are a couple 7-inch in them. Mm-hmm. And you're standing them up next to each other. And then you have, like, the big mega figures. So characters like Swamp Thing, you would expect to be bigger. Darkseid, Steppenwolf, they're all pretty beefy figures. Killer Croc is definitely a beefy one. And then you have standard characters like Martian Manhunter. So there was a lot of controversy over this figure because he did a gold label release and he did the traditional...
What's that mean?
So gold label is kind of like an alternate costume. Excuse me, an alternate costume. Mm-hmm. So in the gold label Martian Manhunter, he has very basic features. He doesn't have his armor on. He's kind of just got like
the X straps.
Yeah, the standard like Superman underwear type thing.
Okay.
The original version, he's in his full battle armor. But they made him smaller than the 6-inch figures. I don't understand that, because traditionally he's a lot.
I have a problem with McFarlane's scale. I've talked about it in past videos before, because it doesn't line up with anything else.
Exactly.
But as long as they lined up with themselves, you can kind of forgive it. But if he's starting to like cheat there too, that's a problem.
You have the smaller.
Like one of the few, again, I think I would say 5 of McFarlane's DC figures, maybe not even 5, 4, 3. But one of them, I absolutely loved it, and it made my best of the year in 2020, I think it was. But that Robin, that Damian Wayne Robin that you see there, and I absolutely love it. But he's supposed to be like 12 years old or something, and he's just 5.5 inches or so. Like he looks very big next to all my DC Direct guys. But now they've made newer versions of Damian, and I don't care for those ones. It's like weird because I think that one he actually really captured in art style, like it looks stylized. And now the new version's coming out. I'm not feeling them.
They made him look like less of a jerk. Like I'm kind of torn on Damian. I think he's a
jerk, but
he is a jerk, but
I like him, and I like that figure captures his smugness.
Yes.
But it's just like his whole proportions. Like he's weirdly shaped, like he's oddly sized. But like the newer ones, it's like just coming out now and stuff. His head's different. I don't know. I'll have to do a side by side or something. But yeah, I can't get into them. Another one I'm disappointed in is like I'm currently collecting the Son of Superman comic book with what's his name, Jonathan Kent, and so this is a character I like Superman, but he is one of those characters where I'm not a big DC guy. Sometimes it's daunting to like, where do I jump in? Am I going to be lost in all the backstory? And sometimes when they do a fresh start, it would drive me crazy if they do it with Marvel. Like, I don't want them to reboot, but I don't really care when they do things like the New 52 so much in DC, because for somebody like me who's kind of a casual fan, it gives me a chance to jump on. So when they gave Son of Superman his own comic book like a year ago, I was like, all right, I'll check him out. And, you know, I'm enjoying it. I don't think it's going to last very long, but I hope he gets an action figure. Todd is making one, but he looks weird, and I don't like it. And it sucks when you're like, oh, I wanted that character, and now they've botched it. And it's hard for me to even say exactly what's wrong with it, but it's, I don't know, disappointing.
Yeah, that's what I have with some of the figures. Like, trying to decide, because I have so many of them, which ones to not buy. Yeah. Is sort of a completionist. It's hard to do. I can't justify spending $34.99 on a figure. They have gone up in price since COVID. And,
there's still some of the most affordable action figures out there.
That is true.
So credit to Todd McFarlane on that too. Same as his Spawn comic books are still $2.99, which is crazy because he's kept that price point since like it launched, or like long time.
Yeah.
And yeah, most other comic books are like $4.99,
$5.99.
Yeah.
If you get into specials, like $7.
So yeah, it's cool that he keeps his toys relatively affordable. And even though I'm not going to buy these, but like, did you see his new line he just announced where it's like the comic book with the figure?
Yes.
Like, I think that's cool. Like, that's the kind of thing that gets kids into, like, they're listed on Big Bad Toy Store right now for $11.99, like American. But, you know, even still, that's only about $15 Canadian. Like, for a figure and a comic book, knowing that a comic book costs about $5 or $6 Canadian already, I think that's a great deal. So I really appreciate that he's doing that. He's got a lot of good ideas, but his execution doesn't always
make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't always stick the landing. So yeah, you were talking about scale. Now, I told you one of the things we do in this episode is I'd show you some of the new stuff I've got. So I do have some new stuff over here. But one of the things that I have that I was going to show you ties into what we're talking about here. Is I got a new McFarlane DC figure. So I got
you bought Swamp Thing.
And what's cool about this one is it's actually, it looks like the normal Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Because this figure, like McFarlane, he keeps putting out all these variants. So as he mentioned, you get Unmasked Batman and everything. With Swamp Thing, this is how I know Swamp Thing. This is how he looked in those old movies from the 80s and everything. This is Swamp Thing. But then he has a version which I guess is based on his new, I don't know if it's the new 52 or the Rebirth version, but he's got these big antlers.
I believe it's Rebirth.
Yeah, so the only one I'd seen around for like a month or two at all the local GameStops, which is where that's probably where you buy most of these.
I got mine off Amazon.
So you have this guy too?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where this guy came from. So I don't usually shop on Amazon, but I would have bought Swamp Thing, I think, at GameStop if I'd seen it, but it's like I don't like that antler one. That doesn't look like Swamp Thing to me. And then they got one out that I don't what does Todd call these, the artist proof or something, where he's just like plain gray. Like I wouldn't even say black and white. Like he's just complete bland.
It's not painted. Yeah, they send those out randomly when you buy from Amazon, so you can get like a character, and then you're in love with it, and then it shows up in the mail, and it's gray.
Yeah, and I guess to some people that like, because I'm sure they're probably rarer, so they might think score. I got the, but who would really want this figure in solid gray if you want the? Because I really love the paint job on this figure. Like, it's not overly like anything special about it, but it looks flocked or something. When I look at him, it looks like he's actually mossy and stuff. Really cool paint job.
I actually didn't mind paying what I paid for him. He wasn't available through Amazon's warehouse, so he was purchased through an independent toy seller in Miami. So he cost me a little more to buy and ship because it was coming from the States. But he's such an accurate figure, and he's girthy. It's just a nice sculpt.
Nice and girthy.
Yeah.
Well, see, I wanted this guy, but I wasn't going to buy the antler one. But my buddy Miguel, he saw this online and kind of like impulse bought it, but he doesn't even collect action figures. I think sometimes I rub off on people. And so I think he watched one of my videos, and then he saw this thing. He's like, I'm going to buy it. And then it arrived, and he's like, why the fuck did I buy this? And so then he called me. He's like, do you want to buy this off me before I return it? And I was like, yeah, sure. So yeah, that's how I ended up with my Swamp Thing. And I am going to open mine. I don't think I'll bother necessarily doing it here, but like I might maybe splice in a little review of this thing outside of the box. So it's the next morning, and I'm here shooting an insert of the Swamp Thing. Had a lot of fun with Chad on the show last night. And yeah, so I've opened this figure up. Here he is. It's a cool figure. But you can see he's very big. He doesn't fit on my screen with the amount of space I have on my desk. In fact, the size of it is my only real complaint. But I'm not going to go on about this now, because once I cut back into yesterday's footage, I complained about it a little bit there. So let's just focus on the review of the toy. So here you can see his legs, at least. Lots of nice detail in the legs. You see all these different colored greens, and it looks like there's some like wood bark, and yeah, just like really nice sculpting on there. Anyway, I will fit the rest of the figure. There's his swamp ass. We'll get back to that in a second. I'll just show you his accessories. So he has this extra hand, so you can pop one of his hands out and give him this kind of like almost bladed weapon hand. So that's cool. It's also got all kinds of little details with little vines and moss and stuff like that on there. So that's pretty cool. All of McFarlane's DC figures come with a trading card, so this is no different. It's just a picture of the figure itself, which is a little different because I think with past DC figures I've gotten, I think there was like artwork on the card. But anyway. And then he's got the little black display base, which is, it almost seems ridiculous for a figure this size to even bother giving him this little teeny display base. But, it is what it is. Alright, so here he is. And now that is a killer face sculpt. I really like that. And he's got the perfect, like that's how his nose should look. He's got that kind of weird skeletal, kind of sunken nose. It looks really good. I really like the paintwork with the red eyes and the black kind of eyeliner. And then the teeth with the black lips. It all looks really good. And even just these subtle little paint apps here. Like, sure, he's got a couple of different shades of green, but just those little brown flecks and stuff. It's just, there's a lot going on here. Very cool. And he's multiple layered, too, because he's supposed to be just a bunch of swamp plants piled on top of each other. So you can see there's like actually depth to these layers here. There's little crevices and stuff that you can see underneath. On his shoulders, he's got these leafy, like shoulder pads almost, but they're soft rubber so they don't get in the way when you pose him. His hands are nice and cool too, like kind of skeletal. He's got the kind of claws on him. Yeah, so same thing over here. He's a little asymmetrical because here it looks like bark on the shoulder, where here it looks like leaves. So I like that about him because he's not really supposed to be symmetrical in design. That looks pretty cool. He's got all these little kind of his like spine poking out on his back here. Yeah, I really need more room to properly review this thing, but yeah, it's a really nice figure. I like it a lot. It's very tall. He probably is about 12 inches tall. I'm not sure exactly, but he looks to be on par with some of the like big dolls that I have in my collection. But yeah, really, really cool stuff. Just to give you some idea of his scale, here he is next to one of McFarlane's 7-inch figures, which is this Flash here. This here is one of DC Direct's more standard, like 6-inch size figures. And here we have Marvel Legends Man-Thing, which is one of the larger figures in that line. He's about 7 inches tall. You can see he compares kind of with Flash. But Swamp Thing towers over everybody. But I do find, again, I don't read Swamp Thing comics. I think it's too big. Like, historically, Swamp Thing doesn't tower over people like this, right? Like, he's maybe taller. He might be 7 feet tall as opposed to 6. But this guy would be, like, 12 feet tall compared to, like, a Batman or something. Like, it's, yeah, like, look, I can't see it. But, like, yeah, it's way too tall, I think. And so when I go display him with my other DC figures, it's almost going to be like, it's like having a 12-inch figure with your 6-inch figures. Like, just out of scale. It feels like he's from another collection. So even though I think this is an amazing looking figure, I wish it was like
smaller.
Yeah, in the 6-inch proper scale, because looking at this thing, like, it's the only Swamp Thing I have in my collection. It's something kind of new to me. I think the paint job is really nice. Maybe it won't look as nice once I get home, but like, I think I'm really gonna dig this thing. It has potential to be like, not maybe toy of the year, but like top 10 list. But I think that scale is gonna like, it's gonna hurt it.
It holds it back. It's the Steppenwolf and the Darkseid ones are exactly the same size. So again, you know, Darkseid wasn't massive.
Well, see, I have a problem with that. Like, I have a really nice Jack Kirby design DC Direct Darkseid over there, and he's about the same size as Superman, because that's how I feel Darkseid should be. But I realized when they did the new 52, they did make Darkseid a really gigantic character, and in the movies, Steppenwolf was a gigantic character. So I wouldn't have a problem with that so much, because they're movie accurate. They were big guys. And I guess you could say that's comic book accurate, assuming he really is that big now. But I don't know that he's that big, and he hasn't been that big historically. So, I don't know.
One thing I did notice, though, on the Grayscale figures, I belong to a couple Todd McFarlane DC Multiverse Facebook groups. A lot of people are...
There's multiple ones of those?
Yeah, there's a Canada one I just joined, which is actually a lot more interesting than the American one, because we're kind of helping each other out with like locations of specific figures. Again, a lot of the problem with McFarlane is he tends to release them specific to Target or Walgreens. Like, you get all these random exclusives that we don't have access to in Canada.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like a toy tracker webpage, but a lot of these people are painting and customizing their Grayscale ones, so you get a lot of unique kind of takes on specific characters.
Well, and like, if you're somebody that wants to do that, that's really cool that he's making these. But they shouldn't be just showing up at Walmart. Like, if a kid wants the Swamp Thing or Batman, it shouldn't be an all gray thing.
You should have the option to buy it.
Same as like those plain white comic book covers you can buy that are intended for you to take to conventions for somebody to draw on it. Like, that's cool that exists, but I don't want to go in and get my monthly issue of Spider-Man and then put a blank white cover in my... Like, I don't go to conventions. I'm not going to... Like, I've seen some people just draw on it themselves. I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are? Drawing your own cover to your Amazing Spider-Man comic book. It's silly. I don't get it, but, whatever. Anyway, do you want to see my other new stuff this week?
Yes, absolutely.
I've actually got a pretty good haul of stuff. So, I'm really into the reaction figures these days. And it seems like it was probably only less than 2 months ago, maybe, that I posted my video for Reaction G.I. Joe Wave 2.
Yes.
Anyway, Wave 3 is out now. So, I've got Wave 3. So, first I'll go to the name character. So, I've got Firefly. And I'll probably open these guys up and splice in some images of these guys as well. So, yeah, there's Firefly. So he's the Cobra Saboteur. He's usually gray on gray, but here it's kind of blue on blue.
I like that.
Yeah, and these are usually based on the cartoon. I actually, off the top of my head, I can't really remember what Firefly looked like in the cartoon. I assume he must have looked like that. But that's kind of more what he looked like in the Marvel comic books, too. So maybe that's based on the Marvel comic look. I don't know. Now, this is a repaint of the Wave 1 Cobra Commander. Yeah. But this is him in kind of a more, I don't know, regal look, I guess. He's a darker blue with some gold trim and a little red neckerchief. I don't know if I like it more than the first one, but it's nice. It's cool.
I think I prefer the first one that you showed. Yeah.
And then I got Flint. So this makes sense because Lady J came out in Wave 2, so you can't break these two up. So
everybody loves Flint.
Yeah. So that's a nice figure. I dig that. Now this one, these next two, like they're great figures, but at the same time, like I want new characters. I'm worried that this line could fizzle out at any time, and I don't want a bunch of repaints and stuff. But we got Baroness in Wave 1, and it was in the blue and yellow outfit that she wore in the cartoon. Anyway, so now we've got kind of the more well-known black catsuit Baroness. This is what the original figure looked like and everything, and it's a more well-known look. But, we're only in 3 waves in. I don't really want all these variants of characters.
I know a big thing for you was the glasses.
Yeah, the glasses look good on this one.
And they look good on this one, yeah.
Although the other one had like lenses. Okay, this one does too. I wasn't sure. For a second I was like, is that just wireframes? But yeah, it's clear lenses on her, and it looks good. And then, so this is another guy that it's, I've already got Snake Eyes, and I actually have 2 other variations of Snake Eyes that were Target exclusives, which I can't get because we don't have Targets in Canada, but my brother who lives in Miami, he picked them up for me. God knows when I'll get them from him, maybe when he's home at Christmas. But so I've got the 2 other variations of Snake Eyes. So I've got, and plus there's that one, the glow-in-the-dark one that came with the dog sled, which I will get. So I'm going to end up with 4 or 5 Snake Eyes. So anyway, here's another Snake Eyes. So this is the first one of him with the visor, like the ninja look of Snake Eyes. So at least it's a different outfit, but it's still like another Snake Eyes already. So, but it's cool. And he's blue, which, Snake Eyes is black, but the cartoons always colored him blue, so you can actually see him on screen. Yeah. So it's cool.
Were you more Snake Eyes or Storm Shadow?
Snake Eyes.
Yeah,
I like them both. They're like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
Although I don't like jelly, I only like peanut butter. So that's maybe not a good example. But yeah, you kind of have to have them both.
I was more Storm Shadow, but yeah, I agree. Both.
Now the other thing, which is interesting, so if you've seen my videos on these guys before, now that I'm thinking, I might actually, I'm showing these to you guys now in the package. I might do in a separate video where I review all these things later. So maybe I won't splice in a little outside the... But anyway, they've always added army builders in all these things. So like, there was the Cobra Troopers, and they made like 6 variations with the different skin tones. Then they made the Sailor guy and the green shirt. So this go around, they've got somebody called the Snakeling, and I'm just looking at the back of the package where you can see all the characters. So the Snakeling is like a Cobra engineer. And then you see there's a female G.I. Joe soldier in the middle of the packaging. Now, I'm not sure, but when these were advertised, I think they said that there was going to be like 6 to 9 variations of those characters as well. But that G.I. Joe soldier, that's the one character that did not show up at the store when I got all these at Strange Adventures. They didn't have her. If you go to Super 7's website, all these figures are available to buy except her. Like, I don't know if she got delayed or like, she got pulled, or there was some issue, but she's on the back of the packaging. I haven't seen her. You can't seem to find her anywhere. She's not up for sale. Like, you can buy all these guys at Big Bad Toy Store. You can't buy her. So I don't know what happened. So hopefully I get a chance to get her at some point. But anyway, as for the Snakeling guy, so Strange Adventures had 2 variations. So I got one. So this is a white guy with goggles and a welding torch. The other guy they had, I think he had a different accessory and he had a brown beard. And I thought, well, maybe should I get the 2 of them? Because I probably will want to get, I'm not going to get all 9, but I usually try and get like 2 or 3. And I think like if I get 2 of these guys, I'd probably want to get this guy, and I'd probably want to get a black guy as the second variation. So I'm like, I'm going to hold off. If I don't see the other ones come around, maybe I'll go back for the beardy guy, but anyway. So these guys are pretty cool. Now, the one other figure in this series known as Roadblock.
Yes.
They had Roadblock there. I didn't buy him because I don't know if you've seen these figures I'm about to show you.
Okay.
But on April Fool's Day this past year, Super 7 put up these 2 figures for pre-order. People weren't sure if it was a joke or not.
I remember.
But I ordered them. And so it's Roadblock, but instead of the standard G.I. Joe packaging with him coming with machine gun, he's got this little hook for picking up electrical wires. And you'll notice it says body massage on the top instead of the standard G.I. Joe. And those of you guys that know, you know, but like at the end of the G.I. Joe 80s cartoon, there was always these public service announcements. And there was one with Roadblock where there's some kids jumping their bikes over down an electrical wire. And he came over and said, hey guys, don't do that. It's not safe. And he used a little hook to pick it up and move it. Anyway, at the dawn of the internet, when did this happen? Like the year 1999 or something? I don't know. Some guy redubbed all those PSAs. Yes. And he put like weird voices on them and stuff.
Pork chop sandwiches.
Yeah. So if you haven't watched the G.I. Joe redubbed PSAs, find them. They're on YouTube. But the one with Roadblock, he came up and instead he picks up, you know, the animation's all the same. He still picks up the wire, but instead of like giving the kids a message about the danger of playing around electrical wires, he's just like, body massage. Who wants a body massage? Yeah. And it's very creepy. And so not only is the accessory different, but the head is different. The Roadblock, if I bought the standard one, he's got like kind of a scowl, but this one's got like a creepy smile. So he's saying body massage. And then the other interesting thing is, this character is another one of those PSA Joe characters, but they didn't include a normal version of him. So if you want Mutt, you have to buy this weird one that says, I'm a computer. Which,
yeah.
Stop with all the downloading. But anyway, so this is Mutt, the G.I. Joe dog handler, and it comes with his dog Junkyard. Which is cool, because I don't think we've ever got a brown Junkyard, which is how he was colored in the cartoon. Because again, Junkyard's always been pitch black to the toy. But again, that probably wouldn't show up on screen, just like Snake Eyes, so they recolored him for the cartoon. So yeah. But it's a great looking Mutt. There's nothing goofy about it. Like once I open this up, that'll totally work in my collection as a standard Mutt. He doesn't have a smile or anything silly about him. So maybe that's why they didn't release a standard one, just because it would have been too similar.
Yeah, I mean...
But for carded collectors, they might not want one that says, I'm a computer.
I'm a computer.
But anyway, I think they're pretty funny. So yeah, that's a big purchase I had. Now, staying on the G.I. Joes, I'm really excited about these guys. I ordered these from Big Bad Toy Store ages ago, and they finally came in. So this is some G.I. Joe classified figures. So I got the Cobra Bat, the Battle Android Trooper.
Yeah.
So this figure was it was due out in 2022, but some people actually started getting it at the end of 2021. So it's been, 4 months now that some people have had this figure, and I've been seeing people post it on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, I want this fucking thing. And here it is. So, and now I ordered 2 of them. With any Cobra Trooper, I want to have at least a squad of 2. The kind of downfall of this is my older brother, Doug. He collects, but he's not on the ball as I am. So usually when I get these in, he's like, oh, cool, those are... He's like, can I have one of those? And so I'm going to probably sell one of these to my brother at cost. So then I'm down to 1. So I could have maybe bought 3, but I don't know. Sometimes Doug's a little finicky and he might not want a particular character. He actually said he might not buy one of those bats off me. But the other trooper I got is the Cobra Viper, which is a favorite of mine from when I was a kid.
That's a nice figure.
And so I've got 2 of him as well. Again, with every intention of keeping 2 of them on my shelf. But I think my brother has already committed to buying one of these off of me, so I'm going to lose one of these ones, unfortunately. But, like, if I see them, if eventually they might show up at our local Toys R Us, and if so, maybe I'll buy 1 or 2 more of them. Like with the Cobra Troopers over there, I've got 3 of them. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, if I see them in the stores, I'll pick them up, but I wanted to at least guarantee myself at least 1. So there's that. So those were exciting. And the last thing I got is, you want me to take those off your hands?
Sure.
Yeah. is, I don't know if you watched my video on these or if you're familiar with them at all, but the that Action Force line.
Yes, yeah, I did.
So that's a new line of 6-inch G.I. Joe-like figures. It's created by a guy who used to work for Hasbro, Bobby Valla. He started his own business, Valaverse. He started his own line called Action Force. So I backed the Kickstarter. So I got Wave 1 right at the start of the year. I think they shipped. Actually, I think it was like the last day of 2021. I think they. And then he was very quick about getting Wave 2A and 2B. So he's got 2 waves coming out, and Wave 3 is already on pre-order, and so stuff's happening. Anyway, so I've got some of my 2A figures. There's still some more in the mail, but I've got a couple more. So this guy here is called Rollout. So this here, if you see, big, bald, African-American guy. And to be honest, he's basically Roadblock. He's a little too close to Roadblock for me. And Roadblock is not one of my favorite Joes. This is one of those figures I was really thinking of skipping. I'm like, I really don't need a knockoff Roadblock in my collection. But one thing that Bobby Valla does that I love is all of these troopers, even the name guys, come with that extra balaclava head.
Yeah.
Like, McFarlane, you should do that. So you see he's got this mast head there. So I plan to open this up and display him with the mast head, and now he just becomes like another trooper in my Action Force collection. So that alone was enough to justify the purchase of it. So yeah, just that one little extra head that probably didn't cost him that much made me go out and buy this like $40 figure. So McFarlane, you should do that. Like that's great that you can turn this guy into an army builder. So if you want to keep this guy in your collection as Rollout, but you can buy him 6 times over, and then you can have a whole squad of the guys with the mask on. I think it's great. And then the other one, this is another trooper. You can see him over there. I've got those yellow guys that are called Swarm Troopers.
Swarm Troopers.
And I'm really glad they're in the line because they kind of give Action Force a little bit of a sci-fi element. I'm not too into the American military rah stuff, and if it was all military, it might turn me off a little bit. But adding that Swarm stuff, it gives it a G.I. Joe vibe. So anyway, that's the Swarm Trooper, and then the second trooper type is called the Scarab, and these guys are really
kind of cool.
So I bought 2 of them. So here, he shares some of the parts with the Swarm Trooper. He shares some other parts with other figures we've already seen, like Bone Collector, and the coolest feature with this guy is that like clear domed head with that texture on it. It's got that kind of honeycomby look on the head. So yeah, I'll do a full review video of these things separately as well. But yeah, I'm really excited about these guys. These guys were actually pitched as part of the original Kickstarter, and they were going to be one of the add-ons if it had, succeeded and he opened more tiers. And I was really disappointed when we didn't get to the Scarab tier. So I'm glad that he did finally get a chance to include them in Wave 2. But yeah, I was really impressed with my first wave of Action Force stuff. And so the other figures available in this line of Wave 2A that I didn't buy initially, which is why I don't have them here, there's another Sgt Slaughter.
Yeah.
So I have Sgt Slaughter from version 1 over there. And, I like Sgt Slaughter, enough, but I'm not like a diehard fan, and I didn't really need another version of him. And then the other one was, he's based on a real-world UFC fighter, Tim Kennedy.
Yes.
And I don't have no problem with Tim Kennedy, but I'm not particularly a fan. Whatever. It feels almost weird to have a real guy that I don't, in my collection. I'm going to pass on that too. But as time went on, so I had these guys ordered for a while. I'm like, I think I am going to order those other 2 because since all the figures come with the extra heads, I'm actually going to get that Sgt Slaughter and I'm going to put like a balaclava head on that big muscular body with the vest. And I think he can kind of create a cool trooper just on his own, and the same with the Tim Kennedy. I'm going to take the Tim Kennedy head off and put I've got one of those Steel Brigade helmets and put them on and everything. And yeah, I think they're actually going to look pretty cool in the collection. And so yeah, that's a great little feature of these things, the swappable parts. So yeah, that's my new stuff.
It's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. All right, well, is there anything else you want to talk about? I know this was our first episode together. Hopefully we'll do this again.
Yeah, for sure. No, I don't think so. I will send you those Instagram pictures again, though, just so you can cut those in.
Are you going to open these guys up? Is the plan to open up your DC figures?
The plan is to open them up. I just need space and I need storage. So I live in a super tiny apartment, and my display cases in the living room are pretty full. And I don't have room for more units right now. So, like Mike said, they're all kind of in boxes, chilling out.
See, I was going to say, and I'm not going to ask you this, but if you did say you could open these up and you wanted to send me some images of them.
Oh, absolutely.
But I won't ask you to open these guys until you're full on.
Yeah.
Ready. I can find images online of them open. I can plop them up there. But, okay. Well, yeah. We're at probably,
almost 49 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Look at you.
Give or take.
Yeah. So it's been a while. So I guess we should probably wrap this up. Let us know what you thought of this format. Because, there was no real specific review. This is just 2 guys kind of shooting the shit. This is the kind of stuff I wanted to do when I originally started this channel in the first place. So yeah, I'm really excited to do this. The hardest part about this is you came over an hour before we started talking. And I was like, I don't want to talk about this yet because I'd rather talk to you about the video
later.
I don't want the video to seem fake and talking about something for the second time. One thing I was going to mention to you that I didn't know if you knew this yet, and I almost told you when we were upstairs on the deck. But did you know GameStop closed today? Was the last day.
What?
So our local GameStop, which is the best, really the only resource for action figures in our neighborhood. Closing today. I went in there today. I told you I saw that $5 Wonder Woman. And all the shelves were bare. They had everything all boxed up. They said they were sending it to other locations. And they said today's the last day. And I was like, is there anything like on sale? And like, no.
They probably redistribute it.
Yeah, so they're just shipping it off to other places. But that's a huge bummer because there's other GameStops around. But like, we lost they've been closing pretty regularly. Like, we've lost 2 other locations like that were relatively close to me in the past,
Is the Bedford one still open?
Nope.
No, that closed. That was pandemic time closing, I think, that one.
Yeah, so we've got the next closest one is at least like a 20-minute drive away.
Yeah, Bears Lake.
Which is kind of a pain in the ass because it is a great spot, and they are one of the people that, like, whenever there's a Walgreens exclusive for Marvel Legends, GameStop gets it here in Canada. And so now that I might have lost that resource, because like I don't know how much longer the remaining stores are they going to be around much longer? I don't know, but huge bummer. And so that was my big reveal, shocker, live on camera.
I am shocked.
He's
you saw my jaw drop.
Yes, that sucks.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm gonna have to reorder some games from another GameStop. Hopefully they don't close.
Well, the only reason I actually found out about it on Tuesday, I think it was. Which I thought was weird because they called me and I saw GameStop on my phone. I was like, oh, one of my pre-orders must have come in. And I go in there so much that the guy that used to work in our location, his name is Justin, we've kind of gotten friendly.
I'm friends with Justin. I actually went to school with his wife.
Okay, Justin's a good guy. Anyway, then he's moved to he's bounced around to some of the other locations.
He's in Bears Lake now.
He's in Bears Lake now, which is one of the remaining stores. And sometimes I go in there to pre-order stuff, and he's already pre-ordered it for me. He's like, I knew you were going to want those, so I went ahead and pre-ordered before we sold out of our pre-orders. I'm like, okay, thanks, man.
It's pretty cool.
So anyway, the girl from our location called me and said, I was told to call you specifically to let you know that our store is closing, and I'm transferring all your pre-orders from our location to the Bears Lake location. So I was like, okay, thanks, Justin, for the heads up. But yeah, I didn't think they were going to go around calling all the customers. So yeah, if you had some pre-orders, you might want to double check and see if they moved them on.
Mostly Switch games.
Yeah.
That's okay.
All right. Well then, let's wrap this up. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Again, please leave me comments below. I'm going to bring them back regardless, but hopefully you enjoyed the conversation. And so we can do I have that weird half-ass salute. I don't even know what it is, but we'll do that. Okay. Ciao.
Bye. Ciao.